You know that feeling when you're taking like a truly high-stakes exam and you've been casually working your way through the questions, maybe, daydreaming a bit about your weekend plans?
Right, just kind of taking your time.
Yeah, exactly. And suddenly the proctor writes, 5 minutes remaining on the whiteboard.
Oh, that is the worst feeling. Total panic.
Totally. The whole atmosphere in the room completely changes. Your heart rate spikes, your focus just zeroes in, and all those difficult questions you're going to get back to later suddenly demand immediate triage.
You have to figure out what actually matters right then and there before the clock runs out.
Exactly. And that feeling, that sudden, sharp clarity is the exact mission of our deep dive today. We want to cut through the modern noise, all those endless distractions you constantly surround yourself with, and discover what actually matters before your own personal clock runs out.
It's a brutal but, necessary paradigm shift.
Yeah.
The comfortable illusion of unlimited time just shatters.
Right. And to do that, we're looking at an ancient text today, specifically the biblical text of Ecclesiastes chapter 12, using the King James Version, alongside a really insightful modern application guide that translates this ancient wisdom into your daily life. Okay, let's unpack this, because I am honestly amazed at how a text written thousands of years ago reads like a direct, laser-focused critique of today's hustle culture.
Yeah, it really feels like it could have been published this morning, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean, who wrote this and why is it so intense right from the jump?
Well, to set the stage for you, the author is traditionally understood to be Solomon, who refers to himself here as the preacher. And in chapter 12, he is closing out his entire book with just absolute urgency.
Right, he's wrapping it all up.
Exactly. He spent 11 chapters exploring the meaning of life, wealth, pleasure, work, testing every worldly pursuit to see if it actually satisfies. And now he's basically slamming the gavel down.
Setting the stakes for you as the reader.
Yeah, he's declaring that life is incredibly short, physical decline is entirely inevitable, and distractions are endless. So the burning question he leaves you with is, how are you going to live knowing that the clock is actively ticking down?
Which is heavy. And before you can even talk about how to live well, he forces you to face the hard boundary of your own physical limits. He doesn't ease you into it at all.
Not even a little bit.
No, it starts with a very clear, unapologetic directive. It says, "Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth."
So he's basically commanding you to start early.
Right. "While the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them."
Wow.
The author is directly confronting your natural human tendency to procrastinate the most important things in life. You probably tell yourself that you'll figure out your spiritual life, your deeper purpose, someday.
Right,
Yeah.
I'll focus on my relationship with God when things settle down at work. Or when the kids are older. Exactly. The preacher is warning you that delaying what matters is an incredibly risky gamble, because that magical later you're banking on is just not guaranteed.
And even if you do successfully reach later, the text paints this incredibly vivid, almost haunting picture of what that later actually entails physically.
It really does. The poetry here is striking.
Yeah, it describes the decline of aging through these deeply poetic metaphors. It talks about the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble. Which, that's describing your arms and hands losing their steadiness and strength, right?
Yes, exactly. And the strong men shall bow themselves, meaning your legs and your posture bending under the weight of age.
It's so visceral.
The physiological observation is stunning for an ancient text. It continues with, the grinders cease because they are few.
Oh, wait, the grinders.
Yeah, that's a direct reference to losing your teeth.
Oh, wow. I wouldn't have caught that.
And then, those that look out of the windows be darkened. That's your vision fading. Cataracts forming, the world becoming literally dimmer to your eyes.
That makes perfect sense. But then there is this line about the almond tree shall flourish. That one threw me for a moment.
It's a tricky one if you don't know the context.
Right, because why would a blossoming tree, which, usually symbolizes new life in spring, be used in a passage about physical decay and death?
What's fascinating here is this specific botany of the almond tree in the Middle East. It's one of the earliest trees to blossom, often blooming in late winter before any leaves even appear.
Okay.
And its blossoms are stark white. So the author is using the image of a tree covered in white blossoms in the dead of winter as a visual metaphor for a head full of white hair arriving in the winter of your life.
Oh, that is incredibly clever.
Isn't it?
Yeah, and it follows that up by saying the grasshopper shall be a burden. Meaning, like, as your strength fades, even the smallest, lightest things become heavy and exhausting to manage.
Things that used to be completely inconsequential.
Exactly. But then the imagery shifts from gradual aging to the literal end of life. It reads, "Or ever the silver cord be loosed, or the golden bowl be broken, or the pitcher be broken at the fountain." So what does this all mean? Is the author just trying to depress us with all this talk of breaking bowls and failing vision?
Well, if we map the earlier metaphors to the body, these must be anatomical too, right?
Yeah, like the silver cord sounds like the spinal cord.
You've nailed it. The silver cord is widely interpreted as the spinal cord, or the central nervous system,
Yeah.
and the golden bowl attached to it represents the brain or the skull.
Oh, wow.
When that cord is loosed, or the bowl is broken, the nervous system just shuts down. And the pitcher broken at the fountain refers to the heart, the cardiovascular system that pumps the water of life through your veins.
Right. Once that pitcher shatters, the blood stops flowing.
Ultimately, as the verse concludes, the dust returned to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God.
A completely visceral breakdown of the human body failing. But the point here isn't to terrify you into a state of paralysis, is it?
Not at all. The intent isn't to depress you, but to provide a necessary, sobering reality check. I mean, you live in a modern culture that is fundamentally obsessed with youth, right? Biohacking, extending life at all costs.
Oh, totally. Cold plunges, supplements, all of it.
You are constantly sold products and routines that effectively keep you in denial of your own mortality. The preacher is forcing you to look directly at the inevitable. Time doesn't pause for your convenience.
Right. What feels entirely stable and permanent to you right now, like your limitless energy, your sharp mind, it will eventually shift.
Exactly. By aggressively stripping away your illusion of physical permanence, the text is actually doing you a massive favor. It demands you ask yourself, if my physical vessel is completely temporary, what am I building that will actually last?
It's the ultimate pattern interrupt. Once you realize the time you have is strictly limited, the natural follow-up question is, how are you wasting the time you currently possess?
Which brings us to the trap.
Yeah, and this is where the text points to a culprit that I would have assumed was a uniquely 21st century problem.
It is a brilliant pivot in the narrative. The preacher notes that he deliberately sought out acceptable words, words of absolute truth. And then he compares the words of the wise to goads, which are sharp-pointed sticks used by farmers to guide stubborn livestock,
Right.
and also to nails fastened by the masters of assemblies.
Let's look at those two metaphors, a pointed stick and a fastened nail. They serve two very different functions.
They do, and that duality is the essence of true wisdom. A goad is meant to poke you. It is uncomfortable. True wisdom should agitate you when you are stagnant. It should provoke you to move in the right direction.
Makes sense. What about the nails?
The fastened nails provide structural stability. When the winds of modern trends or personal crises blow, deep wisdom acts as a nail that anchors your life so it doesn't collapse.
But notice the key to both metaphors, they require action. You have to move when goaded, and you have to build a structure to use a nail. That context makes verse 12 hit incredibly hard. Immediately after praising applied wisdom, he drops this massive warning. He says, "Of making many books there is no end, and much study is a weariness of the flesh."
Which is wild to hear from an ancient source.
It really is. You read that today, and it sounds like a direct attack on the information age. It's like having 500 tabs open on your browser, constantly refreshing your social feeds, subscribing to a dozen daily newsletters, and like listening to self-improvement audiobooks at 2x speed.
Yes, just inhaling all this data.
Right, but never actually applying a single ounce of it to your actual life.
You've captured the exact psychological trap the author is exposing. You have this modern obsession with hyperproductivity and endless content consumption. You live as if your capacity to learn is unlimited, using research and study as a shield.
Oh man, that hits close to home.
You convince yourself that reading one more book on habit formation means you are improving, even if you never actually form the habit. The text is warning you that knowledge without application isn't wisdom at all, it just becomes a weariness of the flesh.
It drains your energy.
Right. You trick yourself into feeling productive because you are consuming information, but you aren't changing how you live.
So hoarding information is just a sophisticated way of avoiding action. You think you're being diligent and wise by preparing infinitely, but you're just dodging the hard work of making actual consequential choices.
It is the paralysis of analysis. It's diagnosed thousands of years ago. The pacing of the book of Ecclesiastes builds to this exact tension.
Right. It dissects the vanity of material wealth, highlights the terrifying inevitability of death, exposes the trap of endless intellectual wandering.
And then, right when you feel completely cornered by the reality of your own fleeting existence, it cuts through all the philosophical noise.
Because we want to cover the application to modern life here and keeping the pace moving, if hoarding knowledge is just a defense mechanism against time running out, what are you actually supposed to do with the time you have left?
The author doesn't leave you guessing.
No, he doesn't. He delivers the final verdict in verses 13 and 14. He says, "Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment, with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil."
After 12 chapters of exploring every complex corner of human ambition, the author distills the entire human experience into one remarkably singular focus.
Wait, fear God and keep his commandments sounds almost too simple. How do we practically apply the whole duty of man when we're stressed about bills, status, and our daily routines?
Well, that tension you're feeling is exactly why the text is written this way. The simplicity is the entire point.
Really?
Yeah, your modern default is to artificially complicate your life because complexity gives you an excuse to delay spiritual obedience. The application guide emphasizes that you focus your energy on temporary foundations, like your bank account, your job title, your physical appearance, because they offer immediate tangible feedback.
Right, like if you work late, you see the money. If you buy the clothes, you get the compliments.
Exactly. Because spiritual growth doesn't always offer a dopamine hit in 5 minutes. You drift. You react to whatever is loudest in your day. You avoid accountability by acting as if your daily actions don't carry any real cosmic weight.
You prioritize the screaming urgencies of Tuesday morning over the eternal importance of your soul.
But the preacher is warning you that what you prioritize right now dictates how you will finish. If you build your identity on things that inherently decay, like wealth or social status, you are going to end up completely empty-handed when the silver cord is loosed.
So delaying your spiritual foundation, assuming you'll just get right with God later, is the ultimate modern trap.
It is. The profound simplicity of fear God and keep his commandments is meant to cut violently through your modern paralysis. It hands you a true north.
So it's not that your mortgage or your career don't matter at all. It's that they're terrible foundations for your identity. If your primary duty is to your creator, those other things organize themselves underneath that umbrella rather than ruling your life.
Precisely. When your core foundation is secure, the anxiety surrounding everything else begins to dissipate.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. When you first read the phrase, "God shall bring every work into judgment," it sounds threatening. It evokes this image of a harsh spotlight exposing all your flaws.
Sure, it can sound intimidating.
But if you look at it through the lens of everything we've just discussed, the fleeting nature of your physical body, the exhausting trap of endless, meaningless study, realizing that God sees and judges everything, actually seems to relieve a massive amount of existential pressure.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you start to see how this final conclusion is deeply liberating rather than terrifying. The sources we're reviewing deliberately connect Ecclesiastes 12 to a few key psalms to really flesh out this worldview.
Right, like Psalm 90.
Take Psalm 90, for example, a prayer attributed to Moses. It asks God to teach us to number our days, that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom.
Numbering your days. It's like bringing math into philosophy. It implies that your days are a finite currency, and once you start actually counting them, you stop spending them on things that don't matter.
Exactly. When you number your days, you realize you don't have time for petty grievances or chasing trends. The sources also point to Psalm 1, which contrasts a person anchored in God's law to chaff, which the wind driveth away.
Chaff is the useless husk of the grain, right?
Yeah, it has no roots. It just blows wherever the prevailing wind takes it. If you spend your life chasing modern distractions, you become the chaff. But if you root yourself in God's commandments, you become the tree planted by rivers of water.
I love that imagery.
And finally, Psalm 15 talks about the practical integrity of this rooted life, speaking truth, honoring promises, even when it hurts.
Those psalms really flesh out what keeping the commandments looks like in practice. It's about intentionality, rootedness, and integrity.
They do. And this entire cohesive worldview radically strengthens your trust and relationship with God. Think deeply about the concept of ultimate judgment. If God brings every work into judgment, including every secret thing, that means absolutely nothing in your life is ultimately hidden, wasted, or meaningless.
Wow, yeah.
The modern world might casually tell you that you're just a tiny, insignificant speck on a rock hurtling through a cold, vast universe, and that your daily struggles don't matter. But this biblical text boldly claims the exact opposite.
That your actions, your secret decisions, your private moments of integrity, they matter so deeply to the creator of the universe that he promises to evaluate all of them.
Judgment, in that context, isn't just about punishment. It's about ultimate validation. It means your life possesses profound, enduring significance. Even the quiet, seemingly mundane things you do have weight.
Which raises an important question. How does accepting that reality change your relationship with God today?
Well, by accepting that your physical body is temporary and trusting that God holds the ultimate scales of justice, you are instantly freed from the sheer exhaustion of trying to be your own judge, your own defender, and your own savior.
You no longer have to control every outcome.
Right. You don't have to know everything. You can finally close those 500 browser tabs of infinite self-help. It simplifies your focus down to a single point. You trust that building your life on his commandments is the only foundation that defies the decay of the almond tree.
It shifts your relationship with him from something I'll focus on later when I have time to the very core engine of your intentional living right now.
Yes.
That is a life-altering shift in perspective. It takes God out of the waiting room of your life and puts him squarely at the center of the steering wheel. Because if life is as short as the text promises and time is as limited as a ticking clock, you realize that not everything crying out for your attention deserves your energy.
You can finally let go of the exhausting modern obsession with productivity for the sake of productivity. You can stop drifting like chaff in the wind.
You stop treating your current life as an endless, low-stakes dress rehearsal and finally realize you are on the main stage right now. The clock is undeniably ticking, but that's not a reason for you to panic. It's a reason for you to drastically prioritize.
Exactly.
Let's bring this all together. We started with the incredibly visceral imagery of a ticking clock, of a proctor calling out 5 minutes left in an exam room. Ecclesiastes 12 is that jarring wake-up call for your life.
It bluntly reminds you that your youth, your physical strength, your sharp mind, they are all temporary loans.
Right. The silver cord of your nervous system will eventually be loosed. It warns you that you cannot hide behind endless learning, infinite scrolling, or the accumulation of facts to avoid the hard, necessary work of actual intentional living.
And it leaves you with the ultimate stripped-down bottom line. Fear God and keep his commandments. That is the one true anchor in a culture that is constantly shifting beneath your feet.
It is the only foundation that outlasts the decay of time.
It forces you to confront a reality that goes beyond just what you prioritize in your day-to-day routine. Think about the legacy you are actively building right now. We spend so much energy curating a permanent digital footprint, perfecting our online profiles, ensuring our professional resumes look flawless, capturing the best angles of our lives for people who barely know us.
Yeah, we really do.
But this text suggests that all of that is just modern dust returning to the earth. The profound truth to ponder here is, what does your spiritual footprint look like? Long after your physical body fails and your digital echo fades, what eternal weight will your secret actions and daily integrity hold when they are finally brought into the light of ultimate judgment?
That reframes everything. You hear the proctor say 5 minutes remaining. The illusion of having unlimited time is instantly gone. You finally know what actually matters, and all the modern distractions are stripped away. So looking at the days you have left, however many they may be, how will you apply this information in your life?